Thank you, Graham. It's nice to be with you this morning. And I don't have to tell anybody here that this country is about to enter a retirement boom. No one knows the ramifications of that more than our members. We often hear from our business leaders that they're struggling with a shortage of workers as more and more talent heads out the door to retirement, sometimes very early retirement. So at the same time, we know that people turn 50 and they aim for 100. And in their third quarter, they bring an emotional maturity and a strong work ethic to the workplace. More and more employers are coming to realize that lifelong, full-time employees are a thing of the past. In fact, a recent survey in Manitoba showed that 60% of businesses in small communities in that province are preparing for succession planning that will need to include part-time employees. There are a lot of smart employers who value the experience of a third quarter employee and want that experience in the workplace. And we're going to help them. And we're here today to announce that we're working with several chambers of commerce across Canada to create a place online for employers and all those third quarter employees to connect. The website is thirdquarter.ca. And here over our URL, you'll pick it up very easily here. We're rolling out the thirdquarter.ca in rural and small communities across Manitoba, British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and in the 4 Atlantic provinces over the next 2 years. The pilot will launch first in Manitoba, and we'll have our sites in BC up and running this fall. So let me give it back to Graham, who will give you some detail about the launch. Graham?
What makes thirdquarter.ca different is that it does not use traditional resumes to find matches between employers and employees. Imagine for a moment an accountant getting ready to retire from his job at a manufacturing plant. He has been a handyman all his life repairing his home and cottage, yet his resume doesn't reflect what he knows an awful lot about home repairs. He could be a real asset to a rural hardware store in a small community near his cottage. A typical resume does not tell the full story of hidden talents of third quarters, but thirdquarters.ca will bring these essential and valued skills to the surface. It will include a series of online skill surveys to help that worker identify his or her essential skills. This program will find gaps in their essential skills. Maybe they don't know how to use a new piece of software used in cash registers, for example. We'll help them find training and upgrade those skills. This is a 2-year pilot project. It will roll out in 17 small and rural communities across Canada. We are hiring in each of the pilot communities coordinators to help individuals and firms use the website and connect. The dream is that more and more employers will find an answer to their work shortages in thirdquarter.ca. For the Canadian economy to grow and small towns to prosper, we need third quarters to remain active. We believe the solution is online with thirdquarter.ca. And finally, we hope that a whole generation following third quarters, 40-something, may rethink their retirement. We need people in our communities to be employed. Thank you very much. John and I are here for a couple of minutes to answer any of your questions. Thank you very much.
In a number of jurisdictions, mandatory retirement age has been struck away, and there's a school of thought that says many people are actually remaining engaged in the workplace, that they are not retiring. They're healthier, they're living longer, they're working longer. Does that not mitigate some of the concern around employees of the future?
We think that as this program goes forward, for instance, we've been contacted by the Teachers Society, the unions. They have a lot of teachers retiring in the near future, and they're looking at, some of the teachers don't want to do schools or work back in the schools, so they want to see what they can do in the community. There's also a volunteer piece on the website to help some of the volunteer sectors in the communities we're working in. So we feel that there's going to be that need and there's going to be that transition time. So we hope to be able to work ourselves out of a job, shall we say?
Yeah, John.
If I could just comment further to Graham's thoughts. Research would suggest that in the next decade, there's going to be more jobs created in British Columbia than there are people to fill them. We have 650,000 people in our K-12 high school system, and the research would suggest that there's about 1 million jobs going to be created over this next decade. So we've got a significant void. We've got a problem, a shortfall of people coming out of the school system. We're coming into the workforce, and we have to find them somewhere. We've traditionally, for a number of years, talked about immigration as a potential source to fill this. We've talked about seniors as a possibility without much meat on that bones. We've talked about Aboriginal youth in particular, because the demographics are particularly attractive. There's no silver tsunami going through the Aboriginal community at the moment. We've talked about underrepresented groups such as handicapped persons and some women groups that haven't been in the workforce. We've talked about any number of possible sources to find people for what we're tending to think of as full-time jobs. What this program does, which I like about this program, is it gives people who are coming to retirement and coming out of retirement even, some options for part-time work and some different kind of thinking. The focus on rural communities is particularly important because the youth that are leaving, the urbanization phenomenon that's taking place here in BC is leaving small communities devoid of younger people coming into the workforce. Employers are going to suffer as a result of that. So we have to find some answers. This would seem to be that answer. We sometimes laugh jokingly about the greeters at Walmart as something that everybody should be aspiring to. The reality is that's the model. That's what we're really talking about here. We're only talking about matching a set of skills that people don't want to market or haven't historically marketed with job opportunities that really exist. And so I think that's the opportunity. After all is said and done, and everybody who's applicable and everybody who's appropriate and is a candidate for this particular job opportunity is conscripted back into the workforce, we're still going to have serious shortfalls.
What do you see in the future for a generation that's younger than you and I, and who have been waiting for people like you and I to get out of the way so they can have decent, full-time, good-paying jobs? We've been grabbing all the good stuff. They're waiting for us to get out of the way so they can have those jobs.
Well, that's a loaded question in some respects, but I think that if I can answer it with a very sensitive issue, something that's very topical these days called the harmonized sales tax. Things such as initiatives such as HST that are designed to attract investment to the province, that are designed to create new and better paying jobs in our economy, are going to contribute to that discussion in a great way. Once the HST is in place, and once we begin to emulate what happened in Atlantic Canada and other places where HST has happened, we're going to see significant investment, and it's going to be in a lot of rural areas. We're going to see it in the forest sector, we're going to see it in the mining sector, we're going to see it in oil and gas, manufacturing in general. These are 4 sectors that are going to be huge beneficiaries of HST. And those are the young people in those communities that are going to find these jobs that are going to be very attractive. And we should hope that they do find good jobs, because you and I need them to pay for our pensions.
I would agree with that, but that hinges on those industries taking the money that they're not paying in PST and investing it in new jobs, new employment at good wages.
But the products that, okay, I'm going to HST debate, the products that these companies manufacture will be available now at much more competitive prices once they've removed all that embedded PST that's been in there up to now, whether it's a 2x4 or it's a pound of copper. We have got an opportunity here to really create an attractive investment climate in British Columbia, and while we're getting off the topic here a little bit, I think it's important to remember that a lot of the focus of this particular initiative will be in the rural areas, in the manufacturing areas, in the resource-based sector. And that's where, up to now, British Columbia's economy has relied to find employment and to find growth in an economic sense. So this will play right into that. This is just a small piece of a very large pie that will play a role in replacing some of those youth that go off to universities in various parts of the province or into such trades training or whatever they go, but they leave their communities for this specialized training, and hopefully they'll come back to be part of these more active and aggressive industries.
Now, seeing as how you brought up HST, I'd like
Sorry about that.